Welcome to our mini class for this week. Just making sure the sound is working and it looks good. Hopefully you can hear me. So our theme this week is taking a lesson from what's happening in nature. It's the end of September if you happen to be watching the replay, but this is a relevant theme anytime. This happens to be really poignant right now as I watch the beautiful leaves fall all around us, reminding me that releasing what we no longer need can make way for fresh new growth. And sometimes that requires a period of dormancy, of going inward, of looking like there's not much going on or hibernating, so that in the spring we can blossom and take on what's new, what comes to fill that space that we release when we let go of what we no longer need, what no longer serves us. So we're going to do a little seated practice. So you can sit down on the ground. And so we'll work with the hips a little and lower back to work towards a forward bend, going inward like a turtle into the turtle pose. So we'll start with the legs in front, feet on the floor, and doing a little movement side to side, feeling the movement of the hips, ball and socket joint. There's quite a range of motion. And you can add a little more movement, lifting one hip, bringing the knee toward the ground, and then lifting the other hip. Just tuning in and noticing how your hips feel today. Great, and then coming back to the center, you can give the legs a little stretch out, give them a shake. And then we'll take one ankle, cross it above the opposite knee, lean back a little to bend the leg that's on the ground to bring the foot to the floor. And then you can bring your body a little more upright. And with the spine, we'll practice a kind of cat-cow movement. Lift with the breath in, and then bend your elbows around, let your head come down. Lifting with the breath in, rounding. A few more movements here. Great, and then you can stretch out the leg that's on the ground and bring your other foot to the ground on the outside of the leg if that's available to you, or it could be on the inside otherwise. And bring your hands around your knee and use that little bit of leverage against the leg to lift up tall. And take a few breaths here. And if you want to add a little bit of a gentle twist, you'll take the hand that's opposite the knee to the leg, keep it on the knee, lift the other arm, and as you exhale, turn towards the leg that's the knee that's bent. Use your hand on the ground behind you to lift tall, look over your shoulder, and we'll just take a couple of breaths here. We're not trying to get into our deepest twist. It's really letting the spine revolve out from the ground, twist up and lift, and then slowly release, unwind. Come back to the center, stretch the legs out. Again, give them a little shake. And then bending the other leg and place the ankle above the knee. Bend the straightened leg, leaning back a little to make that happen. And then you can move in that cat-cow movement, lifting the heart with an inhale, rounding, and then exhale. So we're kind of turning the stretch a little more, turning the volume of the stretch up and then turning it down. And then as you come to the center, stretching that leg out, bringing the other foot to the floor, lifting up to bring your hands to the knee. And this might be enough for you here. If that's enough, stay here. If you want to add the twist, opposite hand to knee, lifting the other arm as you inhale and then bringing it behind you as you exhale. And then just holding the leg there. We're not trying to crank ourselves into any kind of intense twist at all. It's really nice and easy. You might turn to look over your shoulder. Right, and then turning around back to center, releasing. You can again lean back on your hands. Give your legs a little shake. And then we'll swing the legs around to come to all fours. So here on all fours, lining up your hands either right underneath your shoulders, wrists under the shoulders, or slightly ahead, knees under the hips. And we'll lift the tail, lift the chest, breathing in, and then round your back as you exhale. Now you could also add child's pose to your exhale if you like, or stay up on all fours if that's more comfortable. So you're rocking forward as you breathe in, rounding, and maybe adding child's pose as you exhale. If you want to move at a different pace than your breath naturally moves, just move at whatever pace is comfortable and allow your breath to move freely. And then add a few circles for the hips. You could just do more upright circles or circle all the way back to the heels with your hips. Going one way, maybe going the other way, exploring. The movement feels good. And then coming back to a neutral position, tabletop position, we'll take the knees wider. So there's some space between the knees. The toes can stay together. And then you'll move the hips back towards your heels, as long as that's okay for your knees. If not, you're going to be a little more upright on your forearm. Otherwise, moving the hips back toward the heels. Your belly will come down between your thighs, so there's room for the belly to soften and expand. And then you can either rest your head on your stacked fists or your stacked hands, or directly on your mat. The arms could reach overhead or by your sides, whatever's comfortable for you. And we'll spend a few breaths here, softening around the hips, the lower back, and the belly. When you're ready to come up, you can use your hands to support you, lifting back upright, and you'll bring the knees in together. Come back to all fours and do a few more rounds of cat and cow, or cow and cat. Inhaling cow, exhaling cat. Great, and then let's swing around to come back to sit. So for this one, you may want to bring a little folded blanket, just a little bit of lift for your hips, and you'll tuck that blanket if you're choosing to use it. It's optional. Some people find it's a little easier to sit upright with a bit of lift in the hips, and you'll stretch your legs out in front. So you just want the blanket just back at the edge, just at the very back edge of your sit bones. It kind of tilts your pelvis a bit and allows it to be upright rather than kind of tilted back. So you're sitting up tall. We'll bring one knee in, move it to the side, lift the arms, breathing in, and exhale to come forward any amount. Take a breath in, lift again, and then exhale, let your spine soften, let your head release down. Let's take a couple of breaths here, maybe 3 or 4 breaths actually. And when you come up, come all the way up, breathing in. Exhale, draw the knee back in. Give it a squeeze and stretch it out. Other knee comes in. Can release it to the side. I didn't mention on the other side, but if you want to add some padding to support that knee, please feel free to do that. We'll lift up with a breath in. Exhale, release the breath. Let the head come down. And take a few breaths here. So there's nowhere we're trying to get. We're not trying to make a specific shape in this pose. Letting go of any expectations you may have of yourself in your practice. Allow your shoulders to drop. One more breath here. And then we'll lift all the way up. And release the arms, bring the knee back in. Give it a little hug. And then release. Give the legs a little shake. And you can lean back on your hands here and roll the toes out and roll the toes in. You might want to bring the legs a little apart, rolling out, rolling in, rolling out, rolling in. Right. And then we'll bend the knees to the side a little bit, bring the soles of the feet together, but create quite a wide diamond shape here. So we're not bringing the feet in right up close to the body, but keeping them out and away from the body. And then lifting up tall, take a breath in. As you exhale, bring your hands down into that space. And this might be your turtle pose, just resting here, feeling a stretch in the hips and the legs. If it feels good for you to go a little further forward, you can bring your hands, bend your elbows and bring your hands a little more forward. And for some of you, taking the lower arms underneath the ankles and coming down onto the elbows while you bring the palms of your hands to the outer feet. This is a little more advanced, but if that's available to you, you can work with that position. Letting your head come down like a turtle, moving into its shell. And a feeling of exhaling and softening, letting go of that which no longer serves you. As you go into your shell, shedding, releasing, letting go. Notice if you're holding tension anywhere in your body. And if you need to come out of the pose anytime, feel free to do that. Let go of the need to be in the perfect pose for the perfect amount of time. And honor your body, honor your needs. Let the breath release and imagine letting go of whatever you may be holding on to that no longer serves you, whether it's a piece of furniture, old clothing, old ideas, ways of relating. Exhale, soften, and let go. When you're ready, you can release and slowly lift back up. Bring the knees in together. Wrap your arms around your legs. Take a breath in, lift the heart. And then exhale, a couple of breaths here, giving yourself a little hug and a squeeze. And then we'll slowly release. And you can come off whatever you might be sitting on, move it aside, and come down onto your back. So after a deep forward bend, we want to release the back a little bit in the opposite direction, and we'll work with bridge pose for that. So feet lined up so your heels are under your knees. We'll take a breath in, exhale, and press into the feet. Feel your lower back move into the earth. And then as you inhale, start to lift the hips up. Engaging through the hamstrings, the buttocks, and then exhaling lower down. Again, you can coordinate breath if that feels comfortable for you, or just move and breathe at a comfortable pace. So you're lifting And lowering, perhaps lifting with an inhale, lowering with an exhale. And then if you like, you can stay and hold that bridge pose for a few breaths. Feel the back of your body engage. Now the front of the body opens a little bit. You can think about moving your knees away from your shoulders, perhaps letting the hips float a little higher. Check in that your neck is not being strained here, so relax the face, neck, and jaw. And when you're ready to release, lower down slowly. Bring your knees up in toward your chest, and you can move the knees towards you as you exhale. Move the knees away from you as you inhale. And repeat that movement a few times. And squeezing the knees in, you can rock side to side or maybe circle the knees now, whatever would feel good. And then feet come to the floor. We'll roll over onto one side. Use the opposite hand as support to lift you back upright. And you can come to a comfortable seated position, maybe sliding that blanket under the sit bones again. And bringing your hands together at your heart. Take a moment to perhaps identify something in your life that you'd like to let go of, that you'd like to release, that's no longer serving you. That could be some physical object, some way of thinking or being in the world, perhaps a relationship that no longer serves you. As you feel your sit bones root into the earth, feel your upper body lift, and take whatever it is that you want to release, lift it up, and like a tree shedding its leaves at the end of the season, imagine shedding whatever it is as you release the arms down to your sides, and we'll do that 2 more times. So pausing at the heart, connect with what you'd like to release, and then inhale and lift. And then imagine releasing whatever it is back out into the world where it becomes compost and it leaves us space. One more time, exhaling. And then as you bring your hands back to the heart, we've created some space for what new gifts may arise in our lives when we've released what no longer serves us. We leave ourselves open to the gifts of the universe. We don't always know what's going to fill that space, but we know if we hold on to what's no longer serving us, it creates a block for what could be renewed, what could be the new way of being, or the new couch, or whatever it is that you want to let go of and make space for. Take a few deep breaths, giving yourself the space to invite in what's new. Namaste. Have a great day. Thanks for joining me.